Hello viewers, welcome to Science TV. My name is Ben Warangai and our sign language interpreter doing the voicing is Wanjangede. On to our first news item. President William Ruto today presided over the 89th National Youth Service NYS Pass Out Parade at the NYS Paramilitary Academy in Gilgil, where a recorded 18,000 recruits graduated after completing a 6-month intensive training program. In his address, President Ruto commended the recruits for their discipline and dedication, noting that the passing out parade was the largest in the institution's history. He reiterated his administration's commitment to empowering the youth and announced that 4,000 of the graduating NYS recruits would be given priority in the upcoming police recruitment exercise, which will see hiring of 10,000 new officers. The president also promised that NYS graduates would be given special preferential consideration in other discipline services, including the Kenya Defence Forces.
We must rise above the average and dare to embrace greatness. Within our lifetime, Kenya will and must rise to the first world standard. Let me repeat. Within our lifetime, Kenya will and must rise to the first world standard. Ladies and gentlemen, when the NYS was founded 61 years ago, it was designed to equip young Kenyans with education, with skills, and national cohesion. Today, the challenge has grown. Nearly 1 million young Kenyans join the labor market every year, but too many are without opportunity. That is why we are implementing a bold, multi-pronged strategy to create jobs, expand opportunities, and empower every young Kenyan. We are modernizing our education and training systems. Technical training and vocational education and training institutions have expanded from 180 learners in 2018 to over 700,000 today. And by the end of this year, we aim to
And moving on to our next news item, Deputy President Kithure Kindiki has declared that the government will not revert to the manual procurement system, emphasizing that the new electronic platform is a crucial tool in the fight against corruption and inefficiency. Speaking on Thursday, Kindiki stated that the government's transition to a fully digitized procurement system, known as the Electronic Government Procurement (EGP) system, is irreversible. He warned that any attempts to sabotage the new platform or revert to the old manual methods would be met with swift action. The Deputy President highlighted that the manual system was plagued by a number of challenges, including lack of transparency, inflated pricing, and high level of human interference that facilitated corrupt practices. He said that the GP system which was recently rolled out across all state and county government entities, is designed to create a clear audit trail and ensure accountability at the stage of the procurement process.
Parliament vetted me, and one of the things that I committed to Parliament on was to bring e-procurement in government. And they congratulated me for that. So how Parliament can turn around now to say that e-procurement is violating the Constitution? Where is that provision of the Constitution? The Attorney General is here. So there is no excuse. Nothing has been revoked. I issued a circular to government officers to procure through e-procurement, and that is still the position until the cabinet revokes it.
County governments are experiencing challenges in making use of e-procurement. It is not just county governments that are experiencing those challenges. Even national government agencies are experiencing the same challenges. However, we must resolve those challenges and implement e-procurement, because we will not revert to the manual procurement system whatsoever.
And moving on, the government is fully prepared for the transition of students to senior secondary school. Education Cabinet Secretary Julius Migos Ogamba has announced. Speaking at the University of Embu, CS Ogamba assured the public that all necessary strategies have been put in place to ensure a smooth transition for the pioneer cohort of the competency-based curriculum, CBC, who will join grade 10 in January of next year. The move comes as the Ministry of Education finalizes preparations for the full rollout of senior school, which will see learners specialize in one of three pathways: science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, STEM, social sciences, and sports science and performing arts. CS Ogamba emphasized that no student would be left behind and that government's focus is on ensuring every learner has a place to thrive within the system.
A program of ensuring that we have the infrastructure in place, including the construction of the 16,000 classrooms that were required to allow the transition to be smooth. As a ministry, we've managed to do a total of about 14,500 classrooms of those 16,000. That is together with the ones that we are partnering with the national government CDF programs. And this means that we are almost over 90% of the construction. So we came round to confirm that these classrooms have been done, and we are going to continue going around to check, even in those areas where classrooms have not been done, what arrangements we have put in place to ensure that the transition is smooth. We are continuing with the provision of the classrooms, and we program or we intend to ensure that within the next 4 or 5 weeks, all the classrooms that are required would have been done. The books have been distributed. We've distributed about 9.9 million books in all learning areas. And as the students, as the learners start class, they will be getting those books on a 1-to-1 ratio. And in places where the distribution has not been completed for one reason or another, that distribution is ongoing. The teachers have also been availed. We did we've done almost 76,000 teachers for JSS, and in areas where they are not enough, there is an amalgamation of the primary teachers who are being moved up to teach the JSS classes depending on their competencies. So we are doing everything that is possible to ensure that the transition is smooth, and where there are challenges, all of our field officers are actually out today to ensure that where there is a challenge, it is escalated and a solution is found, including where we are merging classes of the lower grades so that the grade 9 are not affected. You do not have to turn them back if they do not have uniforms or if they do not have anything that is required. We have allowed that transition to take 100% transition to take place, and those are peripherals that you do not turn away a student because they do not have uniforms. You give them time to ensure that they bring whatever is required to get the uniforms on time, etc., etc. So we
And on to our next news item. The Kenya National Union of Nurses has strongly condemned the Council of Governors for opposing the permanent employment of healthcare workers hired under the Universal Healthcare Coverage Program. In a press statement, KNUN Secretary General Seth Panyako accused the governors of undermining the government's commitment to UHC by failing to absorb nurses and other medical staff into permanent and pensionable terms. Seth stated that the move was not only a betrayal of the health workers who have been serving diligently on short-term contracts, but also a threat to the sustainability of the UHC program itself. The union urges that a permanent workforce is essential for providing quality uninterrupted healthcare services. They maintain that temporary contracts create job insecurity, which leads to high staff turnover and a lack of motivation, ultimately affecting the quality of patient care. KNUN has threatened to call a nationwide strike if the COG does not reverse its stance and agree to the absorption of all UHC healthcare workers on permanent terms. The Council of Governors, on the other hand, has previously cited financial constraints as the main reason for their reluctance to offer permanent contracts.
Issued by the chair of the Health Committee in the Council of Governors, Honorable Njuki, and the Kenya National Union of Nurses and Midwives strongly condemns the recent utterances by the said governor, who is the chairman of the Health Committee in the Council of Governors. He said that he is opposed to having the universal health coverage staff converted to permanent pension. And in his utterances, he issued certain roadblocks to the Ministry of Health, stating that he does not want them to be converted in permanent pension. We want to state as follows. One, that the NAN appreciate the Ministry of Health and the leadership of the Cabinet Secretary, Honorable Aiden Twale, for initiating the conversion of UHC staff into permanent and pensionable. NAN recognizes the role of the national government and the National Assembly Health Committee for ring-fencing budgetary allocation to support this process. We also note and recognize the progress that has been so far achieved through the action
And on to our next news item. A section of President William Ruto's allies from the Ukambani region has launched a scathing attack on former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua, accusing him of a sustained campaign to undermine the Kenya Kwanza administration. The leaders, who include several members of parliament and a senior government official from the three Ukambani counties of Machakos, Makueni, and Kitui, held a press conference where they collectively condemned Gachagua's recent public statements. They specifically accused him of spreading malicious falsehoods and propaganda aimed at creating disunity within the ruling coalition. They reiterated their unwavering support for President Ruto's leadership and the government's development agenda, urging all leaders to focus on serving the Kenyan people rather than engaging in what they termed as petty politics. And finally, the Senate today continued its second day of hearings to the impeachment of Kericho Governor Dr. Eric Mutai, who is facing charges of gross violation of the Constitution, abuse of office, and gross misconduct. The embattled governor pleaded not guilty to the 3 grounds of impeachment, which were brought to the Senate by Kericho County Assembly. The charges include leading a mob to invade private land and designate it as a dump site against a court order, as well as intimidation, harassment, and unfair dismissal of county staff. During yesterday's hearing, the Kericho County Assembly presented witnesses to testify on the allegations of harassment and unfair dismissal. Among them were former county employees who claimed they were forced to contribute money to the governor under duress. One witness, a former county executive committee member, claimed to have sent a cumulative total of 1.5 million Kenya shillings to the governor for fundraisers.
Not expert. Thank you very much. Now, the whistleblower, according to your paragraph 3, is the deputy governor, isn't it?
Yes.
That deputy governor deputizes the governor himself, isn't it?
Yes, yes.
Have you moved to impeach him because he's equally responsible?
We have not.
You have not?
Yes.
Firstly...
So just a minute, Council.
Yes, Mr. Speaker.
The House is supposed to rise at 1, but the use of standing order that 4-2. Want to extend for 15 more minutes so that you can conclude your close explanation.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. The motion, the whistleblower was the deputy governor, and you confirm you haven't moved to impeach him, have you?
There is no impeachment.
There is no impeachment.
Yes.
And if this impeachment succeeds, he is the beneficiary, isn't it? Isn't it?
Of course.
Of course, yes. Okay, now, so you have taken us through issues. May I summarize the issues you've raised? You've raised issues of contracts on works and goods. You've raised issues of improprieties in procurements, including splitting contracts and payment of money. Those are the issues you've raised, isn't it?
Yes, yes.
Now, when you were presiding over this committee on fictitious payments, did you find anywhere where the governor had signed any of the contracts that you're dealing with?
Of course.
That is all for the news updates. We will be taking a commercial break. We will be back with the sports news.